All right, we're going to try this. I'm not sure how it'll work out, but we'll try to do the best that we can. Uh, so hopefully this video will work. This is for assignment 4, the transitions math class. These are notes for 9.3, which is purchasing a used vehicle. When you're purchasing a used vehicle, there's guides that you can look up online, and some of those guides to help you know how much or what the price of a used vehicle should be. It'll give they'll give you a range or what the average is that sort of vehicle sells for. One of them's the National Automobile Dealers Association, which is NADA abbreviated. Then another one is Vehicle Market Research, VMR. And then you have Edmunds, which is a sort of a separate one. Then you have Kelley Blue Book, which is one that most people have probably heard about. And this is the one that we're actually going to use. And you could use any of these on there. Some people don't like Kelley Blue Book. That's one I just happened to pick to use. We could use any of these others to try to figure it out. And they're all sort of the same. They might have a little different setup when you're getting on the computer. When you get on one of these auto dealer's website, that auto dealer will give you something, and this is a law that they have to. They'll give you something that looks like this. They have to have this posted in the window of every used car, and this tells you all the different specs and everything about the car. You can see here that it tells you the VIN number. You can use that VIN number to look up on Carfax the history of the car. Then it gives you a stock number, the mileage that's on the car, the type of engine that's in the car, the transmission that's in the car, which the transmission is just going to be like some kind of automatic or some kind of manual shift. Then they'll tell you the drivetrain. The drivetrain here, this one says FWD. That means front wheel drive. If it was 4-wheel drive, then it would have 4WD. If it was rear wheel drive, it would tell you that. It'd probably say RWD. And also it could say AWD, which is all-wheel drive. They'll tell you the exterior color, the interior color, and then the other things. And some of you seem to have trouble with these others. And in the other section is they'll tell you the options, or they call it the equipment and accessories. And it's sort of where with the options or equipment and accessories, they sort of throw all this together to make it look like you're getting some great spectacular car, when maybe sometimes it doesn't really mean a whole lot. So as we look down through some of these, and again, you guys had trouble listing the options on the other assignment, some of you that I gave you. Options could be anything from, like this one says, one of the options is 6 speakers, AM, FM radio. Even though you probably, every car you've ever seen has an AM, FM radio in it at least, unless somebody's taking it out, they consider that an option. So a lot of these are things that you really probably wouldn't think that you're adding to the car, but they consider it as an add-on. Air conditioning. Most every car that you've probably ever ridden in your lifetimes has had air conditioning in it. Some of the other stuff, power steering, Again, most every car that's produced now has power steering. If you drive some old farm truck or something, you might find one that doesn't have power steering in it. Some of these other things down through here, you got like ABS brakes, that's anti-lock brakes. If we look, this car has, they've listed several things. They've listed a whole big long list of them here. Some of them they'll list things. I'm trying to find anything down here that might be something sort of just out of the ordinary that they put on there just to make the list look longer. Most of these look all right. Some of them will put, see, like here you got front reading lights, which is just your front interior lights. Now if it says reading lights, that probably means that it's got a light for the passenger and a light for the driver. Hopefully you're not driving and reading at the same time though. And again, a lot of these, some of them actually mean something, and they're actually options that are added on and you pay for them, extra for them. And then some of them are just stuff that has to be on the car regardless. You got your, down here you got alloy wheels. Well, you could have steel wheels on there. That's just the old junk rims. Alloy wheels look a little better, but they're not aluminum wheels, which are even more expensive, and so on, so on, so on. But this is what every used car has to have this posted in the window, or supposed to have this posted in the window with all the specs, and the mileage, and all the options or equipment and accessories. When a merchant buys a car from somebody, so when a car dealership buys a car from somebody, they buy it at wholesale price. So when you take a car in to trade it in, they give you a certain price, and then they will sell it at a retail price. So they try to get the car, buy the car from you as cheaply as they possibly can, and then they will sell it at a higher price to make money. That's the only way that they can stay in business. And this formula, I'm going to show you the formula on the next slide. This formula this is how you could figure up how much you should actually pay for the car, what a good price would be for the car, and not pay too much. The average retail price, that's the price that they're going to sell it to you at. The average retail value, that's something we can find out now, and that's why we're going to use Kelley Blue Book or one of the other things online, because the average retail value would be something where we would take all the cars of that style that have been sold in the last month or so, and add them all up and find the average of all of them. That's sort of hard to do if you're just a private person without using Kelley Blue Book or some other guide to give you the average value. Additional options, this is stuff you add on. So stuff like it might have power windows, power door locks, keyless entry, so on, and these are additional options, things that you add on to the price, things that are going to make the car's value higher. Then options deductions, Those are things that you take off if the car doesn't have certain things. And then the mileage deduction. The more miles there are on it, the less the car is worth. So you want to subtract off money to show that, hey, this car's got quite a bit of miles on it. Now, again, we're not going to use this formula. This is what we'd be using if we were just doing something out of the book, but we're going to do something. Our assignment's going to be online. What we're going to do is use Kelley Blue Book and try to find some different things, just using the technology that you have. But if we were going to use this formula, then we have this chart. And this chart comes from the book. It's probably not the newest of charts, but it talks about a Palomino 4-year-old sedan, and it gives some things on it. The thing that we're going to look at is this part down here, adjustment for retail or wholesale. So these are the things that we're going to add on or subtract off according to what the car has. You'll notice here, and this is just a short list. It doesn't have everything on it that it could have, but it's got some things on it, like if it does not have air conditioning, then you deduct $850. Most every car that's produced now has air conditioning on it, and if it doesn't have, then that drops the price down $850. Manual transmission, if it has a manual transmission, so that's where it doesn't have an automatic transmission, then you deduct $650. Things that you add on for would be something like if it has a DVD player, you add on $540. It's got power mirrors, you add on. If it's got leather seats, you add on a certain amount of money. If it's got front bucket seats, it gets added on. If it's got a power sunroof, you add on. Aluminum wheels, you add on, so on, so on. So these are all things that either you add or deduct. And there's when we do Kelley Blue Book, they actually have a lot longer list than just this of things that add money to the price of the car or subtract money from the price of the car. And then the other thing that could could affect the cost of the car or the value of the car is how many miles it has on it. So if this car is 4 years old, that's what they said about this car. If it's got 40 to 50,000 miles on it, then we would deduct $175 from what the value of the car is. And you can see this list. You go on down. If you get down here, you got 90 to 100,000. It's deducting $2,200 from the car. If the car's 4 years old and it's got almost 100,000 miles on it, that's 25,000 miles per year, and that's quite a bit of miles to put on a car in a year. If it's got more than 100,000 on it, then you deduct $2,200 plus $150 per 10,000 miles for every 10,000 miles over. So if it's got 130,000 miles on it, then you deduct $2,200 plus 3 times 150, and that'll give you the value of the car. But those are all things, again, we're not going to use this chart for what we're going to do, because we're going to let the computer do all that. And Kelley, the website, Kelley Blue Book, they take all that in consideration. And we have to put in all the options and the things that the car has and the things that the car doesn't have. This is the website for Kelley Blue Book. And what you're going to do, you're going to answer the questions on the worksheet. I'm going to show you the worksheet here in a second, but it's also hooked on Moodle there. So you can either print off the worksheet and then send me a picture of it completed, or you can just put your answers on a separate sheet of paper and send me a picture of that. But this is the website that we're going to go to. If you just type in Kelley Blue Book, it'll take you to this website also. Either way. This is what your worksheet looks like. Just looks like this. And what you're going to do, I'm going to show you a couple of examples. And we're going to do this same stuff for those examples. The car 1, which I have attached here also, different cars. You're just going to find the fair market range. So it gives you a range, says a car is worth $500 to $1,000 or whatever. It gives you that range. The fair purchase price, it'll tell you that. Then if we're buying from a dealer, it'll also tell you the typical listing price that the dealer listed at, the normal dealer would list it at. And then the fourth question you're going to answer for each car is what kind of deal is that car dealership giving you? Are they giving you a good deal, bad deal? Is it a really bad deal? Does the car seem really expensive? Does the car seem really cheap, where it's so much cheaper you might want to make sure you look at it really close, see that there's not something wrong with it, so on, so on, so on. But you just explain that. And I know there's not a whole lot of space right there, but a sentence or two, you could explain it in that area. That's what you're going to do for each of the cars. The first car that we're going to do is a pre-owned, so that just means used, Chevy Aveo. And I have this right here, and I'm just going to show you this real quick. It's a 2004 Chevy Aveo. It gives you the VIN number. Again, you could use that to look up on Carfax what's the history of the car. The stock number tells you how many miles are on the car, tells you the engine, the transmission, the drivetrain, which this one says it's a front wheel drive, exterior color, interior color, tells you the seller. So the seller is Recim Elos Ribe. And then it gives you different equipment or options that car has. Here, this car has an AM/FM radio, manual transmission, which, if you remember back to the chart, if it has a manual transmission, then that deducts money from the value of the car. It's got power brakes, dual airbags, rear window defrost, intermittent wipers, front bucket seats, and stuff like this. Again, the intermittent wipers, most every car has that now, so that's probably, even though they put it on here, it's not really an option, it's something that you get regardless. A driver side vanity mirror, passenger vanity mirror, and multiple cup holders. And again, stuff like this they throw in there just to make the list look a little longer, because most every car has that stuff now, and it's sort of something that doesn't really help the quality of the car. So I'm gonna set this up and try to look at the computer for each one of these, and we'll go down through and on Kelley Blue Book.